councillors. Welcome Sheridan, Town Clerk, and we have the Deputy Town Clerk online as well. Good evening, many thanks for coming this evening. I apologise for the late start to this meeting this evening. So this is the planning meeting on this day, Tuesday the 14th of March. Let's start with the first item on the agenda, which is apologies for absence.
We have apologies from councillors Buckley and Arlett, and I believe councillors Gavchak and Hillier should hopefully be arriving shortly.
And we have,
which is some councillor Clark is unwell. I'm sorry for it.
yeah, thank you. Okay, item number 2, which is declarations of interest. Do we have any this evening? No, I see none, thank you. So let's move on to item number 3, which is to approve the minutes of the planning committee held on the 21st of February. Do I have a proposer? Thank you, Councillor Romans, seconder, Councillor Park. Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. And 2 of 3 is to consider the draft notes of the Transport Strategy Group meetings held on the 23rd of February and the 2nd of March. Proposed, Councillor Park, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Romans, and all those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. And item number 4, which is public participation. So this is where we hand over to yourselves. Can you please just put your hand up if you want to speak this evening? Don't make any mistakes, thank you. Okay, that's 2, thank you. So you have 2 to 3 minutes, and when you stand to say what you want to address councillors about this evening, please do just state your name, that you confirm that you live in Henley, and which item you're speaking to. So whichever one of you would like to go first. Would you like to go first?
I'm Caroline Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
I live in Penny, and I want to speak about the planning proposal for yeah, that are
Okay.
I can't remember the number.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
I live at the property that is across Peppard Lane from the proposed development, which is to put a 3rd story on a building that has got planning permission currently, not yet built. It currently has planning permission for a 2-story flat roof building, and they want to put a 3rd story on top of it. They call it an attic room. It's a 3rd story on part of this building. We live opposite, and it will severely put a problem for our privacy. We've got 3 windows that face onto where this extension will be, 3rd story. Dining room window, bathroom window, no garage window. In particular, we're worried about the bathroom window because a 3rd story will be higher than our bathroom window. It will look directly down into our bathroom, which, because it's not overlooked at the moment, it's got clear glass. Well, I wouldn't be able to have a shower because the walls of the extension that face towards our house, according to the plans, it will be all glass. So an enormous window looking straight into our bathroom. This 3rd story would also, the window would also look into our back garden, which is currently not overlooked at all, and into our front garden, which we use our front garden as well as our back garden for sitting in recreation purposes. The other point is that it's currently got parking space for 2 cars, and with a bigger building, presumably they'll have more visitors. It will mean they won't be able to, there won't be parking on site, they're parked outside our house, which currently has got parking problem. It's usually crammed full of cars from other parts of Peppard Lane. as it is, and so it will add to the parking problem.
Thank you. Councillors, do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for coming along this evening. A couple of questions, if I may. Has the developer contacted you and discussed the plans with you and perhaps
No.
suggested whether the windows could be on the back rather than on the front? He hasn't?
No, we've had no contact.
Okay, no contact at all. And just to remind me, what's the distance roughly between their windows and what your windows would be?
I'm not
I
sure.
can look at the plans, but just
It's
wanted to get,
it's a single lane, isn't it? It's not a road, it's just a track. It's like a bridleway, isn't it?
Yeah, Copard Lane is single width.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
they're,
less than 15 metres.
Yeah.
This room's 15 metres, roughly.
I'm not sure.
Okay, fine. I'll look at that then.
I've got one question, if you don't mind. Is there any screening from trees at all?
There are trees, but they're all deciduous.
Mm.
And so there's no screening, well, not at third story height, there isn't. And one of the trees, I understand it to be have its crown reduced, so it'll be a lot
Pollarded.
smaller, and I don't know whether, I'm not sure how much it's going to be reduced in height, whether this third story would be affected by that anyway,
Okay.
whether it would be taller than the trees.
Okay.
But certainly in winter there isn't.
Certainly, yes.
That's not really
Yeah.
looking
Councillor
out my
Plant.
bathroom window this afternoon.
Yeah. Councillor Plant, got a question?
Would you be content if it were to say be 2 floors rather than 3?
Well, it has planning permission already for 2-story. They've just put in extra planning permission to stick extra bit on the top.
Yeah, no worries, just whether you're content with that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm not content with it, but.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, the plans, one of the documents on the plans, that's, it shows the windows of various surrounding properties.
Yeah.
But it doesn't actually show the windows on our property adequately.
Mm.
One of them's missing, and it's not shown as it's shown as can't remember the exact phrasing, but some of them are shown as habitable windows and it doesn't show us.
Yeah.
Is it that one that you're talking about? Is that the picture that you're talking about showing the windows? Or not?
No,
Okay, fine. Just checking. Perfect.
no, our house isn't on there at
I
all.
didn't think so. No. Thank you.
Thank you. So would you like to?
Nicholas Thomas Peter, and I live in the other half of the Leadard business too. I live in the other half of it, Alameda. So I'm connected to the house that's selling the land to do this development, and I own that resident. And that's the same application that I'd like to speak about.
Yes, certainly. Go ahead.
So it seems like a slightly cynical attempts to expand the scope of a pre-existing application to the size and scale of which may not have been accepted in the first instance. And I'd like to object to it on a number of different grounds. First is its impact on local character. As noted in its own documentation, own analysis, it's surrounded primarily by 1- and 2-story buildings. Currently, with the exception of the historic building of Leadard, which is a 3-story building, historic building, 3 stories. And that was drawn out in their own analysis for the previous application. That third story poses a direct challenge in terms of mass, in terms of scale, to the existing property there, and it is exerting dominance over what are currently surrounding 2-story buildings, and indeed that's in direct conflict with some of the key principles which were outlined by the applicant in the previous application, where they stated that they were going to keep it 2-story in order to prevent that impact. The whole thing is framed part of the justification for this third story as it being an attic room, as was mentioned by my neighbour Caroline here. And that's just not a basis for comparison. The previous application was not granted with a pitched roof, it was granted with a flat roof, again, for the same reason, to prevent impact on surrounding properties. So that's misleading at best. This is also would provide a precedent for overdevelopment. acceptance would lay groundwork for permitted development expansion of that third story. At the moment, it's a single room, but it would provide a basis for permitted development expansion of that third story, further exacerbating previous issues. And in addition, further overdevelopment within the surrounding area, where it's all 2 stories pitch roof buildings. There are further impacts on our immunity and privacy. This third story will be able to look into our garden directly and also onto our balcony directly in front of our first floor master bedroom. And then there are big question marks about its impact on the applicant's own sustainable design policy. Parts of the application depended on green technology being installed on the roof. And this third story would shadow, for example, the solar panels which he intends to install on the roof, according to question certifications to whether or not that will be meet the high standards that it should. Not to mention the 4 thermal property with a 5-sided box, five external sides. And then just to echo the parking considerations, at the moment, we've already had development traffic related to the development itself, who have parked on our property without permission, without asking for consent. It's not a shared driveway, it is sections of privately owned land with mutual rights of access between the properties. This new property won't benefit from any of those, and nevertheless will be impacted already. So for all of those reasons, you can tell that we're a bit ticked off about it. We hope it will be rejected.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, councillors? Yes, councillor
Same
Hamilton.
questions I made. Is the developer contacted you with the plans before we put them?
I contacted the developer, and we received no contact ahead of the amended plans being submitted. I contacted the developer, he told me that he was in London for the remainder of the week, and I couldn't meet him at the time he said he would be around. So we've had no direct, despite my time.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so let's move on to the next item on the agenda then, which is item 5, plans amended. Turn to page 15 of your agenda, please. Okay, so we've got the first item on the agenda, which is P22 S3033. It's a full application for the Smith Centre on Fairmile. Any proposals? Councillor Plants?
Reiterate our previous, nothing's changed from that, to be honest.
Yeah, okay, is that seconded? Councillor Romans, okay, we didn't hear the councillor like to speak? No, okay, all those in favour of refusal?
There's no material changes.
Thank you, that's carried. And the next is P22 S4498, it's a householder application for 46 Church Road. Any proposals? Yes, councillor Plants?
Boring looks the same as before, still hasn't done anything materially to change our original concerns for refusal.
Okay, thank you, I'll second that. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay, all those in favour of refusal on the same grounds? Thank you, that's carried. P22 S4599, it's a full application for Adam House, 71 Bell Street. Councillor Plants?
I'm conflicted on this one because I still, in part, feel as I did last time. However, reading the owner's history on the works that she's done to the building in the park that will actually be separate, I'm more in mind to go with it, depending on how the other councillors feel on this one.
Would any other councillor like to speak to this?
Previous meeting, yeah.
So this is Mrs. Chinnis, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, so the problem is, so obviously the listed building that we're talking about, on initial reading, my look at the plans, I thought it was actually kind of a subdivision of the building, but it's an extension that she actually did to the building itself. And conservation have actually removed that concern, I'm pretty sure, on this one, so it sort of comes down to our recommendation.
Are you
Still got the
proposing
parking
that we
problem.
change? So,
Sorry, go ahead, councillor Romans.
Still got the parking problem, haven't you, if you divide it into 2 buildings? So,
Still has parking.
okay, so this is it again, it's a case of some changes have been made, but some problems have not been resolved. So for me, I would still go with what we recommended originally.
Until the parking concerns can be addressed.
As a parent, yeah.
Seems like a happy compromise.
Yeah.
Councillor Hamilton, are you happy with
Yeah,
that?
happy with
Are you happy with that amendment?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so would you like to put together your proposal?
Well, I was going to go for acceptance. Which, amending to accept the parking would be difficult.
No, so we're refusing until. Yeah, okay, all right, and you're seconding?
Yes.
Okay, all right, all those in favour, thank you. Okay, so let's move on to P22 S4 600, which is the listed building consents, and again, shall we reiterate the same?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Just,
Okay, so that, then, sorry? I missed one.
no, I was going to say, maybe do we want to move Leonard to the throat for the first?
Yeah,
let's do that.
Councillor, let's do that, yes, as we have a late start to the
Only for safety
meeting, yes,
issues.
I'm in favour of that. So we've got agenda item 6, which is plans new. So all those in favour of moving Leonard P23 S0650 full application to the top. Okay, that's carried. Okay, so Leonard H Rotherfield Road, councillors, any proposals? Councillor Plants?
Recommend refusal, overdevelopment, impact on site, character of the street.
I'll second that.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Raymond, would you like to speak?
Yes, I mean, I know this area particularly well because it's not far from where I live, and I think it's fair to say the concerns we've had this evening are very well founded. I mean, the trees down Peppered Lane always lose their leaves over winter time. The distance, I think, between the houses at the end of, where is it? Western Road, sorry. And I mean, you know, where these houses are on Rotherfield, oh, sorry, on Peppered Lane, I mean, isn't really that far. So this is it. I mean, I have no concerns about us rejecting this.
Okay. Okay, well, I think you've made your views, you know, very, very. I mean, I know this area really well myself, I have to say, and that particular road is very, very small. So if a planning officer was minded to actually try and accept this, then I would, you know, it's across a highway. Well, it's a very, very, very small highway. It's very, very narrow indeed. So yeah, I think I'm minded to agree with you, councillors. Okay, so let's have a proposal for refusal. Seconded. Okay, all those in favour? Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
You
You can stop.
You can stay. It's exciting stuff later.
Two children under 3 at home. And
Yeah.
go home and like.
More exciting.
Thank you very much for your time.
Take care. Thank you.
Yeah.
So moving back to the top of the
Yeah,
agenda,
thanks very
it's P23 S0239. It's a household application and it's for Amberley, 26 Lambridge Wood Road. Yes, councillor Rowan.
Recommend acceptance, approval.
Okay, seconded.
Yeah.
Councillor Hamilton, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. And the next one is P23 S0466. It's a household application for 25 Manor Road. Councillor Plants,
Approval.
seconded. Councillor Romans.
There's already a precedent up there anyway of plenty of houses like that, so yeah, fine.
Good job. Hands up there. Oh, where am I going, Lisa?
Don't count
Dawn.
your chickens.
Okay, would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of approval, thank you, that's carried. And the next one is P23 S0481. It's a household application for Denmark House, 2 Northfield End.
You say no, just because it's retrospective.
Well, despite, I might just go with this one actually for refusal because despite the well, no, it's not really.
Offence, please now.
It's very, very important building and it's very, very prominent part of the conservation area. And it's just not suitable. The conservationer has already commented that it's more suitable for in the countryside instead of a conservation area of a market town. So I'm minded to agree with the conservation officer on this point.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so that's my proposal. Is it seconded? Councillor Plant, thank you. Any other councillors like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of refusal? Thank you. It's Kathleen in the minutes or you're casting? Oh, Judith will listen to it back. Yeah. I didn't know that actually. I didn't know that. Right, where am I? I'm going to put my glasses back on.
Judith's
is what I'm
probably
gonna
done
do.
the minutes already, actually.
Yeah.
Changes.
She knows what we're going to say already. Okay, so the next one is P23 S0512. It's a householder application for 35 Berkshire Road. Oh, we've just done that one. Put my notes in the wrong one, sorry. So let's go to the next one, which is P23 S0555. It's a householder application for 1 Chiltern Close. And yes, councillor Plant,
Approval.
seconded by councillor Hamilton. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay, all those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried.
Michelle, I think you missed one out.
Yeah, I missed that Berkshire Road.
It
Uh,
is,
So we voted on Leadard first.
it is a dormer, but it's different.
Sorry, which one have I missed out?
So you did,
You did miss out.
It was Berkshire Road.
because you did Manor Road, which is a dormer window as well.
Yeah, so you did Denmark Hat, but you didn't do Berkshire Road.
Oh, okay, yeah, so I was right then, okay,
Mhm.
good. All right, so we've got P23 S0512, it's a household application for 35 Berkshire Road. Councillor Plants.
Approved.
Second for councillor Romans, would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay, all those in favour of approval? Okay, that's carried, thank you. Okay, now we get to P23 S0581, it's a full application for 18 Harcourt Close. Councillor Plants.
Just dig our heels in. Let's go for 1, not 2. Refusal.
Councillor, oh, sorry, I thought you were going to say something.
Let's say this one again, isn't it? I'm just trying to think back to the problems we had with Harcourt Close last time.
All right, so let me just refresh councillors, because this has been going on for
Yeah,
about 4
yeah.
years now or more.
Mm.
So it's got planning permission for 1 dwelling,
Yeah,
and then of course, he tried to go to 6 flats and then 5 flats, and it was all turned down.
So,
So now we've got 2 houses, which I'll give you my opinion, I think they're very, very close together, and they don't even look like detached houses, it just looks like a row of terraces, really, even though they're not actually terraces. So it does look very cramped.
So you suggest.
That would be the way I would go, but let's hear your views, councillors, councillor Plant.
I think refusal, because it's too dense and it's overdevelopment of the plot. They've got planning permission for 1, stick to it, build it and move on.
That's seconded.
Yep.
Okay, all right. So all those in favour of refusal? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, so we've covered Leadard and we've got a decision on that one. So the last one on this page is P23 S0788, and it's a listed building consent for 5 Friday Street.
Lovely studio.
Any proposals? Yes, councillor Romans.
approval subject to the list of building people. I've got.
The conservation.
Yeah, list of
Subject to conservation.
Conservation officer, yes.
Councillor Bond, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's vote then. All those in favour of approving subject to the conservation officer.
Okay.
Thank you.
List of building people.
Okay, so that concludes that part of the agenda. Let's move on to 7. Which is, do we have any objections, calling applications that we want to call in? Yes, councillor Romans.
Denmark House, Harcourt Close and Leadard.
Do you want to call them Denmark House? Ken can kill you.
I'll kill you for that one.
I can take it. I think,
Leadard says.
No, and
Harcourt.
Harcourt. Yeah, definitely Harcourt.
I mean, the boundary line is just going to be conservation. I'm going to say we don't like your fence, put in something else.
Yeah, I think I'm minded to agree.
Right, fair enough.
we should leave just the 2, yeah, I think that's a bit,
just the 2.
yeah. Okay, so do we have that recorded safely? Yeah, that we're calling in
Harcourt.
18 Harcourt, and Leadard.
Yeah.
All those in favour, thank you. Okay, so let's move on to 8, which is decision notices that have come through from the planning authority. Just to note those, thank you. Yes,
Can we just ensure that we get the cycle path from Wyvern? I know it's gone through this week, but I know that there was a cycle path contribution towards cycle path within that. So I want to make sure it comes through.
yeah, we could check that. We could check that.
They're only contributing money, they're not actually building it out.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that comes through.
Yeah, so down to us to build it out.
It's gone down to 40. Well, I forgot what the original application was, actually.
40 is good, they just wanted it to be more last time we refused it.
Yeah, cool.
Right, and the next item on the agenda is number 9, which is unfortunate, but we are going to be ready for them, okay? Any comments, observations that you want to note with regard to Premier Inn?
Just need to bring it down the floor.
I've always said, 3 floors and 1 underneath, and all the utilities down underneath, but they keep coming back, and we're going to be ready for them. So listen to us. You know, there's people that want a hotel, but there's people that want a hotel in the right place, the right size, and I just stress to Premier Inn to listen to us because we're trying to help them.
But that's it, I think I'd rather, obviously last time we did go for the strong refusal approach, which I think is, yeah, it was a good thing to do, but I would worry, like I sort of mentioned last time, I'd rather work with them on bringing it down 1 floor and sort of say that we would be potentially in support of something like that, rather than risk dragging, you know, chucking your heels and fighting, and then they win on exactly how it is now.
You know, what's so frustrating about Premier Inn is that we know that they can do great designs because they did a very responsive design in Oxford, the Westgate development, that really responds well to the conservation area and the materials that they've used. I mean, it just, you hardly even notice it when you walk past it. It's been very well done.
I mean, it could be.
Let's write to them then and highlight that you're capable of doing this in Oxford.
I
Why
think
don't
we've-
you suggest, why don't you come back with another planning application?
Yeah,
That listens to some of the points that we put forward in a constructive manner to
I
suggest.
think though that
3
we've
floors.
done that though,
3 floors
Councillor
up on-
Hamilton.
but if we go back to them and say, now that we've looked at Oxford, where you've done it right, rather than the Premier Inn at Heathrow Airport, which looks ghastly, and what they're suggesting for Henley looks ghastly, let's face it.
I think
So,
we could do one last appeal at them. Would they consider 1 less floor, withdrawing this application and submitting another? I don't think we can wish for anything like Oxford. I mean, they put together a pretty good argument last time, like their 360-degree street scene completely proved that there was no street scene, and the mixture of architecture and the mixture of different views, heights and styles goes against anything like that anyway. Like, I honestly think unless we can do some sort of nicely,
I don't agree with that at all. I think it showed the opposite. Which just goes to show how ridiculous planning is, really, because it is by far the biggest building in that area.
I don't dispute it's the biggest, but
And
everyone's like,
when it comes to the hierarchy of buildings, the conservation area and listed buildings always sits right high up there, and all the other architectural styles fall away. So they have to respond to that adjacent conservation area in those listed buildings. Councillor Romans.
I think, I mean, even if we succeeded, let's say, in getting them to produce a more neighbourly design, you know, knocking the floor off, I still don't think that's going to be enough to placate people who live in Upton Close and around there. I mean, people are still going to push back and say that. I just do not think we're going to reach a level of consensus that everyone's going to be happy with. And I go back to what I've said before. I mean, you've got the Imperial Hotel there. I mean,
you compare chalk and cheese.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know we're comparing chalk and cheese, but fact remains that is still hotel stock, which could be utilised. And as far as I'm concerned, we should be looking at utilising what we've got.
No, of course, but this is a conversation that comes up at the town council all the time. As councillors, we need to realise it's not ours, it's not our asset, we don't own it, we have no control.
We've got no control
If
over
someone makes something back here, I'll tell you this again.
So.
Don't have, councils have no powers to poultry coaches or anything of that nature, so it's very frustrating.
We had representation on the 5th of April, obviously.
Yeah,
SABC.
we've got those dates, we've got them, we're ready for it, aren't we, Kath?
Uh, Yes,
Yeah. Okay, so thank you for that feedback, councillors. We'll make sure we take your wishes forward. Okay, so let's move on to item 10, which is the funds for a transport consultant. Kath, do you want to speak to this?
yes, I will, please. Thanks, Chair. So there've been a couple of transport strategy group meetings, as you will have noticed from the notes. We've already, or the committee already allocated up to £2,000 for transport consultancy advice, and with a consultancy has been appointed for that, though it comes in at just over £2,000. But having looked at the areas that the group would like to respond to on the HGV consultation, we'd also like to appoint some advice on air quality and also a structural engineer on whether the bridge can actually cope with the number of 44-ton lorries that are now coming over it. Remenham have recently come out with some research. They've got a traffic count at the top of the hill, and that's showing that there were 41,000 long vehicles a week going over the bridge. So planning committee controls a further £2,689 in the budget that we have for transport related projects, and the recommendation is to approve the allocation of those remaining monies for a structural engineer and an air quality consultant.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Kath. Any questions, observations, proposals? Councillor Plant.
I was going to say, it's such an important issue for most of the residents in town, even if you're in a house that isn't directly conflicted by it, such as New Street. It's important to most residents in town, so I think definitely this is something we really need to do our best to get to grips with.
Councillor Hamilton.
My view is exactly the same, except this is OCC's responsibility, highways, and they should be using their consultants, because what will happen, in my view, and having been here 8 years ago when we did transport studies and things like that, unless we use OCC's consultants, I'll say, well, that wasn't our consultant, that was not invented here, so we're not going to believe those numbers. So that will be the problem. So it's, yes, we need to do it, but it should have been, this research or consultants should be funded by OCC. It should be their consultant or their approved consultant, so that when
You do know that they've appointed a consultant, don't you?
yeah, but
Yeah.
they're coming back, then we're going to double up on consultants. They'll say, well, our analysis says this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but the
I'm just
problem,
trying to
the
get-
issue we have is that OCC are, we think that OCC have appointed
Who's behind us?
ones that are going to give them what they want to hear, unfortunately.
So the problem will then be, you've got report A, report B, they're going to believe report A, yeah, that's.
We've got to just, I think.
I'm quite happy to approve the money, but I just think we should try and use OCC approved consult, rather than our consultants that will just not stand away when we get to further down the line.
Well,
I think it's simple enough to send an email and say, would you be happy with us using these?
Yeah. Because, I mean, previously,
councillors,
I'm used
I
to-
don't feel that the three of us are closest to this as the transport committee are. I think we should leave it to the transport committee to decide what they should do. Councillor Romans, did you want to speak to this before we vote?
No, nothing further to add.
Okay, so I approve 5.1 to resolve 5.1 in its entirety. All those in favour? Okay, that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Good luck, Kath and Transport Committee.
You.
Right, and let's move on to item 11, which is to note the certificates of lawful developments that have come through from the planning authority, which is P23 S0550 LDP. And this is to install a gas meter in a ground box in a rear garden at 83 Hartston Road. And the next one, which is P23 S0673, which is for a creation of a 2 metre by 2 metre concrete pad at the riverbank to accommodate the installation of a step ladder. We mustn't, I didn't know that was going through his LDP. Okay. Right, we'll see. Okay, so next one is item 12, which is reconsideration of a planning application, which has come through between P22 S1717, and it's a full application for Island Reach Town Rod Yacht.
Roddy.
Rod, is that how you pronounce it? Yeah. Rod 8. You can tell I'm not from round here. Councillor Plant, do you have any comments or is it a proposal?
Yeah, I propose that they actually retain the windows. I think the subsequent development of the plot next door is detailed in the pictures and the adjoining letter. Clearly illustrate to all of us the changes. If you look at the pictures that they've provided with the planning application, you'll see that the windows that they've now put in the bedroom look over. It's just a shed. There's no loss of privacy. There's a 3 metre shed outside of these windows. I mean, they don't cause any loss of privacy in my eyes. Unless anyone else feels differently, I don't feel any need that they should be such removed. I think it was the development still next door was just a private garden, and obviously it is an overlooking matter, and we could probably enforce them becoming opaque or remove the windows altogether. As I think that all they've got outside their windows is a 3 metre shed now, so I don't see any point in taking them away. There's no windows on that shed, and it's just a shed.
Okay. Yeah, Councillor Hamilton, okay, yeah, okay, so let's recommend approval then, yeah, okay, all those in favour? Thank you, that's carried.
Yeah, it's approval.
Well, before it was refusal.
Yeah, they're approving for retention.
Right, let's move on to 13, which is the Oxford Local Plan 2040 Part 2 consultation. Now, I have had a look at this. Kath, can you hear me? Did you have any more thoughts on responding to this, Kath?
I'm really torn on this one, Michelle.
Yeah, I am.
I spent quite a lot of time looking at the 203-page assessment this afternoon. I know that CPRE had recommended that, well, at least districts respond to it, but I think it's very difficult for us as a parish to respond. It is a bit scary because their consultants have, because the census has shown that there are 6,000 more people in Oxfordshire now than there were by the ONS estimates of housing of resident numbers. Then basically they've increased their the numbers of people that they think we should be providing houses for, and also to allow for employment as well, so that people aren't having to commute too far. But I'm just not sure that we're really qualified to comment on this.
Yeah.
I feel the same.
Yeah.
I mean, it's vast. I think any comments that we make without putting plenty of heads and plenty of hours onto it is probably not worth doing. You know?
Yeah, and we're very time poor at the moment, aren't we? Because we don't have our planning officer, and also we've got so many projects running at the moment under planning.
I also think I know it's slightly different, but we've done such a good job on our current joint Henley Harpston neighbourhood plan that we're pretty good on our current setting. That'll start rewriting in whatever 5 years time.
When are we going to start again next month?
And we can look at it then
Yeah.
effectively. I think for now we stand back, we look at what they're doing. I mean, plenty of the changes or the sort of recommendations that I think will actually benefit and suit us. So I think we would watch this space.
Okay, we're in agreement, councillors. Okay, all that. That's unanimous then, and we won't be making any representation at all. Okay.
Thank you.
Those few.
Yeah. I do as well, actually, because I always have to review everything that's.
That was a wasted 3 hours and 200.
Okay, so let's just have a quick look at item 14, which is the progress report for applications called in. Any questions? Yeah, we've just added 2 more. Yeah. Okay, ready to move on? And the last item on the agenda 15, which is the progress report for this committee. if I just go through them, it's a bit difficult to update them without councillor Gavshak. Did you have anything to add, Kath?
Yes, so we've just had some quotes through this week for the Marlow Road scheme. I haven't actually looked at them because I've been on leave. But I think OCC are looking to organise a meeting with councillor Gavshak and myself in the next few days to review the
that's
quotes
good.
and decide next steps.
Okay, thank you. So we'll add that to the next progress report.
Yeah.
There's nothing else, is there? I thought actually we were going to take Article 4 direction off and design guide and thought that was completed or
Okay, I missed that.
no, let's keep
No,
it on.
it's
No, let's
different,
keep it on because we're still trying to push for something like that, aren't
I
we?
think that's before, but it's different.
Yeah, we'll keep that on.
It's slightly different
No.
to the traffic and pedestrians, but the 20-mile-an-hour signs there that could digitally project them on the regular road. They don't really.
Yeah, councillor Hamilton.
I'm pleased to hear that the traffic scheme on Marlow Road is progressing, but I've just asked. Can we just see what it would cost to include the footway on the left-hand side?
Different matter.
Kath?
It's a different matter.
Well, it's connected.
Well, I know it's connected, but it's entirely different to putting it across.
Well, it's next, it's perpendicular. Anyway, I've made the point.
Okay. All right, we happy to conclude?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for your contributions, councillor.